And then on the other side, you can see some optional stuff. It doesn't matter what Raspberry Pi you use. I actually use a Pi Zero W. Works perfectly fine. A couple other oddball things here, but we can go over that as later on. Okay, and then this, like I said, is literally the installer instructions directly from FlightAware. It's relatively simple. You download the Raspbian, the PiAware Raspbian Linux file from them, extract it via Etcher. Make sure you format your SD card so it's completely clean. Copy I say 4 over here. I apologize. It should have been 5. Copy that or flash that over to the micro SD card, and then a couple other additional steps. Same thing with Mac. Mac obviously runs the same program, but you can do it on either side. I have had some issues with this next step. That's why I'm going to bring this up. What I like to do is I like to set it up for Wi-Fi. Obviously, the Raspberry Pi Zero does not have an onboard NIC like most Raspberry Pis do. It's just hold on one second. I don't know if this is going to come through. That's how big it is, if nobody's ever seen one. Single board. There are no NICs possibly installed on that. So that's about as big as they get. So I set everything up Wi-Fi prior to launching the Pi for the first time. So this is where the Wi-Fi settings come into place. And Notepad++ is a good place to create those config files. And the files that you would need are wpa-supplicant.conf and then SSH to activate the shell feature, so you can remote into it without having to be directly connected to it. The reason I say that I had some issues with Mac prior to is we were trying to create an SSH file because there's no extensions for it, and it still recognized the Mac settings for it. So I have to defer to Tom KT3P on that one if he can help out with that, answer those questions later on. But those Windows is the best place to do that. But you create those two files, you set up your Wi-Fi onto your network, and drop them onto the freshly imaged card. And then from there, it's just a matter of lighting up the Pi. So you plug it in for the first time, and that's what you're going to get. It'll do its jazz. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to reboot, and it'll boot a couple times. If you have an HDMI plugged in, you can watch it boot. That's close to it. That's not the exact screen, but it will reboot a few times. And then from here, this is an old screen, but this is what you would see if you had the HDMI cable plugged in. It'll show you that the PiAware feeder is running. It's what version it's running. The 1090 dump file is running. It'll also give you your IP address, which is nice, because then that'll tell you where you need to navigate to once you get to make sure that all the settings are up and running. So I preface that because this would be the following screen. This shows you your FlightAware PiAware status. So it says the 1090 radio is configured properly. PiAware is talking back to FlightAware, and then the MLAT is another aspect that will be set up later on. But you have to do that once you're synced with FlightAware. So that's one way to show is it working. And then from there, we'll go on a little further. Now that you see this page, as long as you have green across the board, because it'll actually change colors from red, yellow, green. Green obviously being good. You just click that, go to the 1090 Skyware map, and you see that guy for a live view, or this one to keep along with the slideshow. But that's what you're actually going to see, because it sends you over to the Middle East. I have no idea. I've rebuilt my Pi several times. I cannot answer why it goes over to the Middle East. If somebody knows, I'm more than welcome to take that or get that answer. But what basically you need to do next is you need to log into your free FlightAware account. You just sign up for everything. It'll create an account, and you can tell you at that point need to claim your PiAware, because it'll detect via your IP address and determine location based on ISP for everything that you're doing, and then it'll actually turn into the true PiAware experience. But this is what it. Let's see. What am I trying to say? Minus the updates. Yes, this was something new that came up the day that I was writing this PowerPoint. So they are up to PiAware 5, and I didn't know that when I was writing it, so that's why everything's changed over now. And here, these are the instructions to claim your PiAware. So it would just be a matter of navigating to that part of FlightAware, which I can show you real quick. Nope. So from here, you see the ADSB, build a PiAware receiver. These are all the instructions, which is great because everything, there's video tutorials on everything. But down here is where exactly you want to go, and you just claim your FlightAware. Now it's not going to have anything for me, but once you claim it, it'll show you that there's something linked to your inbound IP address in order for you to say, oh hey, this is mine. Okay, so we'll link it to your account, which is great. And then after that, you have a few more additional settings to do, which you can tell them what you want to show. You could display your current username, which I use my call sign just out of convenience. If you look on most of the site, there are probably a couple thousand ham operators that actually utilize this program for fun, for reporting, and they have several sites in several locations. So that's kind of nice. And then it'll email you notifications for outages, which is how I know that the Pi goes out in Hermitage and I'm in Arizona. You set your nearest airport. The closest one for me is obviously Mesa Gateway. I could go to Phoenix, or I can go to one of the smaller regional ones, but that's just where giving better definition. And then the receiver location you set manually. You can add the GPS information to the Pi, or have a GPS receiver in the Pi as well, but I've never gone into that. It's just simpler because it's static. And then your height and everything like that. So it just gives it a better definition. Let's see. Multiple Pis will show up with this little down arrow, and from there, that's where you could do different settings for different changes. But this is where you go to this spur here will give you this site configuration here. From there, let's see what else we got. What's next? So there's several things on the FlightAware screen that you can actually see. When you go to a typical PiAware screen, you don't actually get the NextRad. You just get air traffic, and usually it's at a good view. So if you bear with me here, I'm having a hard time seeing. Up on top of the right-hand corner here, there's that additional spur where you can make those additional changes. This is just all personal preference on how you want to see your screen, and it'll show you the IP address specifically of what you're using. So there's no, you're not going outbound to the world yet. You can't actually see this from the world yet. But I turn NextRad on, and then you could change you have it aeronautical to 30 nautical miles or something like that. The rings are set by you, so you could have up to 5, I think up to 10 rings and whatever distance you want. So those are some of those settings. And unfortunately, I can't really display how to change the port forwarding for everybody because every router is different. If you just need to activate port forwarding on your router in order to get it out to the real world, I use OpenDDNS account with noip.com, which is the simplest. You may need to change the IP address from time to time, but that's a simple thing to do. And then from there, you just plug in the port that you want. I typically don't use port 8080 as a publicly facing one. I would use a higher oddball port, just so I can, I don't know if I'm crazy or if it's just a security thing, but that's what I did, which is why you saw 50,000 for me. But port 8080 is where the Pi comes out of from the site. So it would be 192.168.1.50 colon port 8080 would be port forwarding. And then you just set your DNS site up like that. This is the NextRad stuff that I was talking to you guys all about before. So you could set those up on your own. And then there's another option that I was looking into. These are paid services. You actually have to pay for this subscription to get into it and play with it. Radar Box, you can buy their equipment and use it for FlightAware, but I've never used it. I actually don't even have the FlightAware equipment, and I can go over that later on. So with that, if there's any questions, just shoot them out.
So Josh, can you pull up the W3LIF site on the live site?
There you go.
Okay. So what, because we can get to this right off the W3LIF website, walk us through what's going on the right-hand side of the screen. Tell us about the colors of the planes, the rings. Tell us about the green splotch out there over Wisconsin.
Sure. So let's go from left to right. Sorry, I'm playing around with the where everybody's head's at. So the black dot is the key right off the bat. That is the site location. Zoom right in. That's it. That'll take you right to the tower site, and it's pulling live data from, I think, Google Maps, I want to say, if not Yahoo Maps. But it gives you the approximate. And then the rings I have set to 5 rings. 50. The base is 50 nautical miles, so that's why we're seeing that down into Pittsburgh for that ring. But the rings, obviously, just the distance from the repeater site, from the tower site. As you look at the aircraft, you're like, okay, they're green, they're blue, they're pink, they're brown. That is a... Why do I know that one? But that aircraft is just taken off probably from Pittsburgh and is climbing still. It's only at about 4,000 feet. And how I figured that is, here's the altitude bar. This bar will show you the different colors and the variations of how high the aircraft actually get to. If you have any questions on that, just to validate it, all you have to do is hover over top of it. It'll tell you most information about the aircraft. Oh, that's a C-17. That's why I was okay. It'll tell you a little bit of information about that aircraft, and you can get more by clicking on it, because it'll take you to the site over here that tells you exactly what it's seeing. And this is just strictly for that one aircraft. Let's come up here to probably this guy flying at 40,000 feet. That is a Delta airline aircraft. It's a D763, specifically flying at 38,025 feet, going 382 knots. And that's the... As you click on it, you can see that the call sign here, I think that's the tail number. No, that's the call sign, and that would be the tail number for the aircraft, so you know what the actual identifier is. And then the registration number. I'm sorry, I messed up. That's the registration number, what the actual aircraft is, right where it's registered to. But by clicking on it with mine, I have it set up to where you could see the tails, so you can back out and see where we picked it up at. So it actually picked up over at State College. And then you can click on flight page, and it'll open up and tell you a lot more information. Where it's going, what its estimated departure time was, what time it's supposed to land, estimated, how many miles it's flown. Scroll down even lower, and you can see past flight information and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun that way. And then the green stuff. Let's go back to the other screen here. That's the NextRad. So you're actually seeing live NextRad data into the Pi on your system, so you can tell where the weather is. The original intention that I had for the Raspberry Pi being at the tower site was for this, so we could actually see the aircraft, and everybody would have access to see NextRad radar in real time. As you sit on the page, it will update periodically, and it's obviously slow moving. It's live data, but it's not a constant stream of spinning data from NextRad. So, and then this is just the list of the various aircrafts that everybody's seeing right now, or that the receiver is seeing right now with all the identification, registration, what it's squawking to. Again, unfortunately I'm not a pilot, so I can't attest to that. Maybe Tom can. I know Tom was working in the Air Force with some of this stuff. He might be able to answer better questions than I can. Let's see if 9600 will return any information. Nope, cannot find airborne flight because it's military. There's a German aircraft. Flying from Hebron, Kentucky to Milan, Italy. DLH or DHL. But that's kind of everything in a nutshell. I'm sorry if I went kind of fast with that.
So, if you could, Josh, go to the w3lif.org website, and I want you to show everybody where the PiAware pin is.
That is actually a good question. I've never done it that way.
So this is w3lif.org. You go on the left-hand navigation pane, and you go down to links, and then it's PiAware. Click right there.
It takes you right to the site.
Takes you right to the site. So, and how many users can you handle on this thing at once? Lots, I would guess.
Yeah, I don't think there's a limitation to how many people can be viewing this at one time. It's basically just it's pumping out the data to the servers. So it's as long as our ISP has a good connection, we shouldn't have any problems with everybody in the club connecting to it.
Right. I mean, we've got a very robust link from the repeater site to K3LR, and then we have 400 megabits worth of bandwidth here. So
everybody should be able to connect to it with no issues.
Right.
Can I put a plug in for the newsletter?
Yes.
The PiAware link is always on the newsletter also, with pictures of the device that Josh was talking about. And as you wander around the right-hand column setups where the gear is, you can also change knots to miles per hour and get a feel for what the color items are on the airplanes themselves to determine what height they are. The more violet they are, the higher up they are. And yeah, as Josh is showing you the flight lines there, it can be fun to look at too. But you'll be surprised at how many aircraft fly over the W3LIF tower.
So, Josh, what is the determining factor in how far out it can see? We know that the repeater site is awesome. It's about 1270 AMSL, and the flight aware antenna is only up maybe 10 feet. What would happen if we went to the top of the tower at 200 feet?
Good question. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I've never seen anything with a Pi set up that way. I'd like to. I'd actually love to see how high up we can get it and get more distance. I would assume that if we get it up higher, we might be able to see down into Florida.
Wow.
My Pi is originally started out with, and I'm gonna have to reboot it now. I don't think this is gonna show up, but this little dinky antenna.
You got to stop the share screen.
Okay. Stop share. So this little dinky antenna, I don't know if everybody can see it, is a non-tuned Russian tuner for a USB dongle TV receiver. It's not tuned for 1090, and it was pretty atrocious to even try to get anything to come in. I since upgraded to a actual 1090 tuned antenna, and that's how I'm getting the quality that I have now. I can actually see further out, down into Tucson, out at east of Globe. and then further west, almost not even to California, but I can actually get further out west past Phoenix and all over the place. The antenna that we have at the club site is a outdoor official antenna that is designed to go up on the tower. So that's why we have such the greater radius. I'm also just connected vertically inside of a magnet on top of a cart, so I don't really have much of a good plane. But once I go outside, I'm moving here within the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna set this back up again, and I'm gonna get a better antenna. I'm hoping to get better distances and better range for what I'm sharing out to the world. I'm also by 4 or 5 airports, so I can see a lot more air traffic as well.
So other questions for Josh?
Is there anything else we need to do to that, Josh?
You know, Alex, I wanted to bring this up. I don't know if anybody saw this, but I mentioned a timer on the list of parts that you can get, and I have to give props. I have to give props to you because I would have never thought of that. There is the Pi will act up from time to time, and the best solution is to reboot it. And I'm sure if you go to my site now, it's probably giving you a hard time or showing you that there's errors on it, and that's because I bumped it and knocked it offline. So the Pis do go out of whack, but Alex came up with the idea of putting what is it? Just a normal
lamp timer, yeah. Put a lamp timer. 3 a.m. turns off and turns back on.
It reboots the Pi, so that's all you really need. Friday, I noticed that there were some issues with it, and then Saturday I checked it again, and it was working perfectly fine. So it was just that simple reboot was enough to fix it. And since they've gone to this OS, there has not been a need to re-image the Pis. It's just a simple reboot. Before the OS came out, I was installing the Raspbian onto the Pi itself and then installing manually the individual applications. Now it's all built into one self-contained program. With 4.0 it was when it was released, and now 5.0 is out, so it's a lot nicer.
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to get anything more sophisticated than that somebody could reboot the Pi remotely, but or is it even worth it? Just let it reboot every night and not worry about it.
I think rebooting it every night the way you have it set up right now is perfect.
It's working. I mean, it seems to be working every time I check it.
Yep.
Any other questions for Josh?
For you, Tim, how many hits do we have on our Pi? I mean, people like our Pi.
Yeah, that's a Corey question. He's
I can look that up for you.
I'm just curious if it attracts people to our site. We're pretty happy about that, you know.
It's always the number one click on the newsletter.
Good. Tim, should we think about moving the antenna up, or do you think we're satisfactory?
Well, you know, there's 2 sides to that. Maybe we get out a little farther, and then maybe we get hit by lightning, and the Pi becomes smashed. So, you know, I like eating pie, but lightning pie, not so good.
And I guess if it gets hit by lightning, the timer probably won't help.
Nope. We'll go up there and it'll be a ball of mush.
Ball of plastic.
Maybe the filter will save it.
But I'm curious enough, the next time we go up to the top, which this could be the summer that we get the 70 centimeter repeater, get a real antenna on it and put it up higher. It wouldn't hurt to have a second antenna, and we can kind of, you know, when lightning is not around, we can go up and see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know how to do that, but I guess I'll leave that to the technical guys. You know, and maybe YQ could put that up for us, up where it needs to be. You know, that would be okay. And the Pi is grounded. You know, they had those heavy ground straps from Ma Bell in that building. The Pi is tied to one of those, so it's the whole enclosure is grounded. So,
but lightning wants to find ground, and it would go through the Pi, and the Pi is just a fuse along the way.
It's a small fuse.
How about some more questions for Josh? Thank you, Josh, for, I know it's, you know, in the middle of the afternoon out there. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, no worries. I was kind of shocked to hear that it was the #1 hit site on the newsletter and the website. So it's kind of good to hear that people are interested in it. I will say this, if you guys want to see, let me share this again. So within the how-tos that I created, and I'm going to share this out for everybody to have, there's a parts list, and everything in here you can do. There's the complete kit. I don't know why I did. Oh, with the car antenna. So there's the individual antennas here. I'll show you. Like that's basically the antenna that we have on the tower right now. That's the setup. But in this here, it'll show you everything that you need to have in order to properly set one up. That's the stick that we're using in it via Amazon. And it's not very expensive to get everything up and running. Like I said, I use the Pi Zero, which is tiny. It's great. You get it, and there's nothing much to it. But that's all you need right there. And then over here, what you can do.
Josh,
Yo.
I like the program. I like to use it, but going outside, I couldn't get it to work very well on my Android phone. So I downloaded an app with the FlightWare. And now you can walk outside, and if you see a jet up in the sky, or no matter where you're at, you can click on it and know exactly what's above your head.
Right, that's the FlightAware data that you're actually pulling in from their website. So that is, yep, that's specific. That's everything, but that's also pulling from several other repeaters within the area, or receivers within the area. I don't want to say repeaters because that's not the correct term for it. And it's all shared data going right to that site. What errors were you seeing when you go into the
It doesn't work at all on my Android. Is what happens, it'll start and then it just like it'll show it and then it'll flicker. It'll go off and then back on and then back off again. And I have an Android.
Unfortunately, I'm not too well versed with Androids. And you're going through are you going through W3LIF to get to that site?
Correct.
Where'd it go? Try that link right here if you can see that.
3KLR. Yes, I think I tried that one.
Colon 18080.
No, I don't see that there.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Hold on a minute. I'm on a laptop. Sorry.
That's okay.
And I think I tried it with Chrome also.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not, like I said, unfortunately, I'm not well versed. I have the iPhone, and I've had to clear the cache, and I've changed browsers a couple times. That usually does it for me. So you might have to clear some settings and stuff like that for the older browser history.
It's loading. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that is working if I use Chrome.
Okay.
The only thing is the layout. It kind of stinks. If you could see it. No.
Yeah. Turn it horizontal. It's a little better, and then you can actually on the site too. It gives you the same page actions, so you can have the toggle slider. You can actually hide that and just see the aircraft, the map.
Yep. That is much better.
Okay. And then the other thing too, just because it's on a cell phone, keep in mind that your whatever the network capabilities are, so it may lag or not load properly itself.
Right.
So.
Okay.
You can, I didn't show you guys this. You can actually expand this stuff around and see better images or information. And this is all the real-time information that you're seeing. So just for example, this Vader 24, I'm not exactly sure what that is. That's the information that it's showing, the MLAT data. Let's see what it is. There is no information on that guy. So you will see from time to time the military aircraft, but unfortunately, if that's what that was, you will not get any information like the C-17. You're not going to see, you'll see where it's going, like directions and headings and how high it's going and stuff like that, but you're not going to see any other information. You may get lucky and catch an image of it, but 9 times out of 10, you won't find any additional information for it. That's about the extent of it. C-17 will show you. Fun aircraft to be in.
Other questions for Josh?
How do you show the trailing flight path?
You show the trailing flight. Just so click on the gear. I call it a gear. Forgive me, it's probably not the right term. And then just all aircraft tails. Click on it.
What if I just want one?
If you just want one, find the one that you want and click on it.
Okay.
So that guy here, UPS.
Yeah.
It'll tell you where we started picking it up at, and then where it's traveling to. So it's kind of,
Yeah, that Vader that you were looking at that's an old flight path that they're showing. That's from
Yes.
May of 2020 for some reason, and it's still up there. It looked like a mapping flight, but
Probably.
out of Philadelphia, Ohio, going to Youngstown, and then following south from Youngstown Airport. You know, squirrely pattern that you had up there.
Yep. And then here's the kind of cool thing that I look for. If you look around, you'll see the different size of the aircraft. Try to meet the models. I kind of like looking for these ones just to see what I can find. It's in C-17 again, but you can sometimes you'll luck out. You'll catch the 4 engines on the wing, bigger turbine, bigger engine, bigger aircraft. So you can find 747, 777s, stuff like that. 787. Sometimes I like looking for Air Force One to see where it's going, if it's even trackable.
Well, some of the helicopters have always been interesting to look at and find because I'm always amazed at the speed and altitude. And you know, as ham operators, we're always looking for noise. And I wonder if any of those planes that fly directly over the repeater cause noise.
Good question. I did share a video of a guy operating while in flight on VHF portable, and the pilot allowed him to do it. So I don't know how legal that was or what, but when he's in the air, the pilot's in charge. So it's on Facebook. You'd have to scroll back a ways to find it. So.
Hey, everybody, it's Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, guys. Hey, I just happened over here the conversation. I follow that thing all the time as well. And HF in airliners it's installed in almost all of them.
Right.
And if they're a ham, they're allowed to operate it. I talk to a guy pretty regularly that flies for Spirit that lives in Detroit. And he's on quite a bit. I've worked him a number of times. When he's got long stretches of nothing to do. But yeah, he operates for, maybe you'll have him for an hour at a time when he's got nothing to do aboard the jet. But they're on board almost all of them. if they go overseas, there are some places that still use air traffic control through HF near the ham band. So this the general VFO coverage will allow them up there.
This was just a normal passenger that was sitting right next to the window, keying up and talking on some repeaters that were either it was the repeater or it was just the national call, I think is what it was.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said VHF.
Yeah.
I missed that. I was HF is they do have access to.
Right. Yeah, probably in the cockpit, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a passenger, so that's why I thought it was kind of interesting.
Ah, I'm sorry. Missed that.
Oh, no worries. Any other questions?
Well, this was fascinating, Josh. Thank you so much for putting this together, because this was, this is right off our website now, and it's another resource for our club members.
Yep. The nice thing too is if you do have Skywarn activity coming through, you can reference this and utilize this for the area, as it looks like you may have something coming through later on this evening.
Yep, it's going to be some showers tomorrow, looks like.
Yeah. So.
Any questions for Josh? Josh, what's your latest project you're working on?
I'm trying to work with this. I have a PiStar that I'm working on, trying to get that up and running and figure out how I can do the different bands. The unfortunate thing is the TYT radio that I have for DMR is got some bugged up software in it, so I'm not getting the correct information. I need to get that cleaned out and fixed, but that's kind of where I'm at working on it. So I need a new DMR radio. And then trying to get back up onto HF and sideband. I kind of missed that. Apartment living and HOA living is going to stink for a while. So hopefully sometime soon I'll be back on the air.
So you're going into an HOA?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
There's unfortunately no housing out here that has it.
Oh boy.
So that's the bummer.
Yep.
But the good news is the house is almost done. We're going through the walkthrough tomorrow, and then we sign papers next week. So we're getting close.
Great. And what city?
Queen Creek. So it's about 15 minutes away from the apartment now. So just down the hill.
Nice.
So
Well, it'll be good to be in a permanent place.
yes, very much so. So, but that's all I got for you guys. If you don't have any other questions.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Josh. And want to welcome, I see Art's in there. And of course, Al, KE8NTP, and Ted, N8MP. And Bruce, K3BEG. Bill, KB3TBT, and Dr. John, KB3H. Nice to see you, John. And Jeannie, KC3QND. Tom, KC3PGP. And Ed Barthgate. I'm not sure what your call is there, Ed, but maybe you can let us know. Marty's here, N3GV. Linda, N3LY. And Art, W1AGW. And KG8GO. And let's see, on page 2, we got Barney, K3LA. So we've got a good group in here tonight. And we have 15 minutes to go until the start of the meeting. So I'm going to ask one of our visitors from Missouri, Ward, N0AX, if you might have a short story that you'd like to tell us, or a limerick, or if you want to dance, that's okay too.
Let's see. I don't know. An
Or-
interpretive dance and amateur radio. I'm not exactly sure here.
Or a
And
pirate
none of the
joke.
limericks can be repeated in public. So,
How about a pirate?
What can I say? But I'll tell you, I'll bring you up a little bit on the youngsters on the air, the youth on the air thing. We're starting to see some real activity here in Region 2. I mean, everybody's kind of aware that we have a camp coming up in July. They're going to try to have a Yoda camp at the Voice of America Museum in Westchester, Ohio, that we all used to drive by on the way to Dayton. But we hadn't really heard much about this kind of thing going on outside the US. And over the past, 3 months or so, we've been having some Zoom meetings with a group spread out all the way from Mexico City to Buenos Aires. And there are several teams or leaders or something, including the Caribbean, that are working with young people, young operators, to get them on the air as best they can during the pandemic to attract young people to amateur radio. And a bunch of really interesting ideas are coming out of all this. So what we're trying to do is make them aware of each other so that they can share ideas and know that they have somebody else out there working with young people, and then get the young people connected with other young people and not just experienced hams. I mean, who wants to talk to us gray beard old guys anyway, you know? So get them talking to each other. And so